Good evening. It is November 14th at 6:02, and we are going to open the select board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and a roll call, please.
Teresa Moss present.
Joseph Shank present.
Chad Sexton Duranian present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And especially in recognition of our veterans and our current and past and our first responders, I thank you for your service. 1.3, the meeting is being recorded and we will be uploading this to YouTube. 1.4, chairman's and additions and deletions. I would like to add an addition for meeting minutes of 9/26/23 for approval. And I'd also like to add an addition for an appointment to the highway department.
What will that be under?
We'll do that under 3.3. Yeah.
I'd also like to add an addition of discussion regarding liaison assignments.
Okay. You want to do that? We can do that on 5.2, reports from the board liaisons. We can do it there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else? Joe, anything from you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So let's see, review, approve the meeting minutes for, I'll entertain a motion for the meeting minutes. Do you want to do them all at once?
I haven't seen 9/26. Was that loaded up?
Today, yeah. Yeah.
I missed it. Let me just do a quick look, but I'm okay doing them all.
You're okay doing, okay. You're okay doing them all at once?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for 8/29, 9/5, and 9/26/2023, and 9/19/2023.
At 9:26.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I didn't see anything on those that was glaring.
No.
All those in favor?
Give me 1 second.
Joe Shank, yes.
Teresa Moss, aye.
Just Sexton Duranian. Appointments and hearings, we have none. 3.0, appointments of officials, personnel. 3.1, I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Susan Shuford as alternate registrar to the Board of Registrars, effective 10/26/23 for a 3-year term ending 3/31/26.
So moved.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, comments, discussion? I'll get there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3.2, review, I'm sorry. Yeah, why don't we do it this way? I'll entertain a motion to approve the disclosures of Townsend Historic District Commission members.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, and discussion. Where are these? These are, Eric, you want to help me out in the beginning of it?
Sure. So there are petitions, which the board actually heard a couple of these, I think either last month or the month before, from members of the Historic District Commission who were also members of the Historic Society who needed to file these disclosures because the Historic Society was having a project that was coming forward. In this case, this is about the Harbor Fire Station, which is a town property. And there's 2 disclosures from Eno and Claire who live right across the street from the property, and because of their proximity to the property, they're statutory abutters, and so as abutters, they're filing these disclosures, they're saying they believe they could still sit and be impartial on the matter, but they do need to file it with their appointing authority, which is the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen needs to approve them to sit.
So, this was, I was at this meeting, and I think this was out of an abundance of caution, on both parts, which I think that is very admirable that they do this. The Historic District Commission would not have a quorum, is that what it was, if they were not?
They were worried about both quorum and sufficient votes to approve a project. And so this is, as you said, an abundance of caution to make sure that they can act on the Old Harbor Fire Station.
Right, so this
proposal.
is the qualifying paperwork to say that they're asking now, do we have to vote to say that we accept them? We do, right?
We do, yes.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I think the motion's already been made and seconded to approve them.
Okay, then, any further discussion?
No, I read them.
Okay. Teresa, you all set?
Yep,
So all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you both. Nino and Claire for crossing your Ts and dotting your Is. Okay. 3.3, I will entertain a motion to appoint highway personnel Jared Adams as truck driver laborer to the highway department effective 11/14/23 with a start date of 11/27/23.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All the right paperwork is here, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Welcome, Jared. 4.0 is meeting business. 4.1, approve and sign outside of meeting all 2024 renewals. Okay, so these are renewals for the alcohol licenses. So I'll entertain a motion to approve and sign outside of a meeting all 2024 renewals for retail licenses, alcohol, contingent upon a valid certificate of inspection and receipt of required documentation and payment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4.2, discuss ABCC seasonal population estimate form. What do we got here? What is this, Eric?
So this is a form that I believe we received from ABCC. Certain towns in the Commonwealth have a large change in population, in seasonal population. We do not. So this is a mere formality that the board just has to approve us submitting the form saying there's not. I believe it's a zero change that we would be submitting the form to the ABC saying we have a zero.
Yeah, we
seasonal
didn't
population
have,
change.
if I remember correctly, when we had I didn't see any seasonal properties on there at all for towns.
And so, as a result, we don't have a seasonal population that would result in us having to change.
And it's not just, well, it could be farms and as well. I know in the Fitchburg school system, they're really affected by it for farming,
Yeah, I mean, there's some, yeah, there's just not.
which surprised me.
We got the information from staff to submit and the answer is zero. So the board just needs to vote to submit it with a seasonal population increase of 0.
Okay. So I didn't motion it, so I'll entertain a motion to
submit.
to submit the ABCC seasonal population estimate form.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. No stamp on these, Sabrina? Okay. Town clerk confirmed, 0.
Yes. Just in case you're wondering, the answer is 0.
One.
Okay, the next is the employment contract for water superintendent. So you want us to do the motion first, or? how do
Yes,
you
I
want to
think
do
that
it?
makes
Okay.
sense.
So, I'll entertain a motion to approve the employment contract for water superintendent David Bidgen.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and Eric, you're up.
Sure. So, as we've discussed as a board before, the supervisors union, at the request of the Board of Water Commissioners, voted to remove the water superintendent from the supervisors union, so he's no longer a union employee. And the board made the determination that they wanted to engage in an employment contract with him. I did work very closely with Dave on this document, so he's seen and approved all of the edits to the contract. In addition, in an abundance of caution, we sent it out to town council. So Jane Friedman, who's our labor counsel, reviewed it, made some edits to make sure that it was a legally compliant document, given the nature of the water superintendent position. Dave, again, and I reviewed all those changes, and he's okay with it. So
And the water commissioners were involved in
the
this
water
as well.
commissioners, again, were provided with a copy of the draft document. I don't know whether they ever took it up in a meeting,
Mhm.
but I did provide the chair with a copy of it.
Yep.
Before.
Just as long as they had a copy,
Yeah,
I
so
just
that-
want to make sure that they're part of the process.
Yeah, so
as
that
well.
we wanted to make sure that they knew what we were signing up for. So what's left is to take a vote to authorize us to enter into it and then sign on the dotted line.
Yep. Well, what I do want to say on this, just for the record, there were some, stipends that we had voted on separately. I think this puts everything in one document, so it's concise and we have it all there. So in the future, it preserves what Dave's interests are. So I think this was a good way of us to be able to make sure that instead of, somebody changing the stipends and with the union being involved in it, I think this is a much clearer and more understandable to put them on a contract. And we all know where we're all coming from, so.
Yes.
I think this was great
Great
work.
job.
Thank you, Eric, for putting this all together for
Sure.
us. Thank you, Adam, for your edits. And Jane, yeah, for doing that. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have to sign this?
If you look at the last page,
Oh, yes,
it does
we do.
have signature pages.
Three. 4.4, recap the property auction from October 27th, 23.
Sure. So, as the members of the board know, on October 27th, the town had a live property auction here in the Board of Selectmen chambers for, three specific properties. Those properties were 97 Main Street, 106 Haynes Road, and 46 Fitch Road, unit number 405, which is a condo over at Pine Ridge. The auction was, I'll be honest, a very well attended and a complete success, in my opinion. There were over 30 people here. There was standing room only. All the chairs were taken in this room. Each one of the properties was competitive and multiple bidders on each property, which was good. If you saw the document that was included in the SharePoint, it lays out the number of bids and the high bidder and the second highest bidder in those documents. So 97 Main Street.
98.
What?
98 Main Street.
97 Main Street.
97.
97 Main Street, yeah. 97 Main Street There were 10 total bids. The winner's name was Alfred DePreto. He bought it for a total of $170,000. 106 Haynes Road, there were 8 total bids. It was purchased by Jose Mercado. He bought it for $165,000. And 46 Fitchburg Road had 12 total bids. That was purchased by Mohammed Ziad Ramadan for $71,000. As an aside, the gentleman who bought 106 Haynes Road has already closed and filed for building permits.
Oh, good.
So he is ready to move. As the board may be aware, between the time we set this date of this auction and the time we had this auction, there was a Supreme Court case on tax liens on a case, I believe it was for Michigan, that specifically found that Michigan's tax lien statute was unconstitutional. Michigan's tax lien statute was substantially similar to Massachusetts tax lien statute. What the court basically held was that when a town takes a property for unpaid taxes and then turns around and sells it, it can only keep the unpaid taxes amount. It doesn't get to keep all of the excess money that it makes above and beyond what the tax debt was. So that's a change to Massachusetts. Up to this time, the law has been, once the town takes something for unpaid taxes and owns it, if we sell it, we keep the entirety of the sale price, regardless of whether or not that's more than our tax debt. So I worked with both Adam and with Iris Leahy, our tax title counsel, on this issue. We went through and reviewed all of our kind of tax lien amounts to make sure that we would be able to keep all of this money, and we will be able to. So these funds were all less than what we ended up calculating as outstanding taxes, fees, and fines. The one caveat is that out of that $71,000 sale price for 46 Fitchburg Road, unit number 405, we did owe the outstanding condo fees to the condominium. And you'll recall we had discussions with town council about whether or not it made sense for us to just let the condo association take it or try to sell it ourselves. It turns out we ended up netted about $35,000 by selling it ourselves. So I think that actually about $45,000 by selling it ourselves.
And they were paid there.
And then they're getting paid they got paid at the closing there for the condo fees, and we netted the remaining amount, which is, our tax, or less than what our tax bill is. The other two properties sold for less than what the total tax liens on them. So the town totally netted around $380,000 approximately from the sales of those properties.
Okay.
Are any of these properties in historic districts? I couldn't remember.
I don't believe so.
Somebody asked me that question.
No, I don't believe
Okay.
any of them are in the historic district. I know 106 Haynes Road and 46 Fitchburg Road are definitely not, and 97 Main Street. That's not a historic district, doesn't extend down that far to the
Okay.
harbor.
Thank you.
So I just want to say, I think the auctioneer was an excellent idea. She did an excellent job. To be here and watch her, quite frankly, play the crowd and work in our behalf, basically, to get more money for the town was really excellent to see. I was despairing at some points in times that we weren't going to make these amounts, and she got the people to bid higher. So I was very impressed with how Sullivan and Sullivan performed the auction.
Seller fee, 2%, 3%, 2%?
I believe the seller fee was 4%. If you see on the document, it shows the buyer's premium that was paid. So
Okay.
on 97 Main Street, the buyer's premium was $6,800. On 106 Haynes Road, the buyer's premium was $6,600. And on the condo, 46 Fitchburg Road, the buyer's premium was $2,480.
The reason I'm asked, does it make sense to consider an auction for the vehicle, or is closed bids the best way to go?
Well, so the way we're going to do for the vehicle is going through municipal bids.
Okay,
I believe they do both ways,
oh, they,
both live or like live auction. I think that it would be best for the town if we just let it do a live auction, because then you can see what the last bid is and bid higher. Sometimes that makes people bid more than they're willing to. The downside of that is if somebody's willing to bid a lot, we might not get every dollar from someone if there's one person who's willing to bid a lot. It's always, a risk when you do bid auctions like that as to which method is going to get you most. But in that sort of thing, that vehicle, I think, will have lots of different potential bidders. And so, letting them see and kind of drive up the bids themselves is probably in the best interest of the town.
gotcha.
So we're going through the process of getting ourselves signed up for municipal bids to be able to do that bidding.
Thank you.
All right, well, again, thank you, and that's a closed chapter.
Finally.
Finally, yeah.
We no longer own those properties.
We didn't want to own them in the beginning.
Yeah.
4.5, correct clerical error in treasurer collector's contract.
So this is something that was pointed out to me. If you see the first page of the clerical of the treasurer collector's contract, the contract was signed in December of 2021, but supposedly starts in January of 2021, 11 months earlier.
Okay.
So that's there. That should have been, it was supposed to be a 3-year contract from January 2022 to January 2025, not from January 21 to January 2024. The treasurer collector is the one who brought this to my attention and said, hey, this is a screw up. So it would just be to vote to amend that contract to reflect the accurate dates, which are January of 2022 to January of 2025.
So I'll entertain a motion to amend the contract for the treasurer collector under one term A to read January 3rd, 2022 and ending January 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I just need to sign it, or do we need to sign it? Or is that
Once we, what I think,
an erroneous sign here sign?
well, what I think we'll do is we'll probably draw up an amended contract with the things and then have everybody sign it. And so if you guys want to authorize me to use your stamps, we can just stamp that contract if that's okay with
I'm okay
everyone.
with that.
I'm good with that.
You okay with that, Teresa?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
4.6, discuss comment referral notice on 108 West Meadow. 108 West Meadow is in regards to a hearing under the Scenic Roads Act to the planning board. This is this one with the removal of a 25-foot section of a stone wall for a driveway entrance at 108 West Meadow Road? So this would have to go in front of, it is in front of the planning board, and as part of the Scenic Roads Act, and there is bylaws in regards to the stone walls here in town that they would have to seek permission to do that. So it's asking for a mandatory referral from us on what we think on that.
Well, the planning board has to, well, that's not a town, that's a state of Massachusetts. So the planning board has it's under the guidance of the state of Massachusetts. So I would just refer them to the state of Massachusetts guidance, and they can waive the guidance, but I would just refer to them. I wouldn't have any opinion of my own. I always trust their opinion.
Okay.
But I know
planning
it's-
board's opinion.
Right, the planning board, but I know it's not a town. I just want to make it clear that it's not.
It is, it's two. It's Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40,
Right.
subsection 15C, scenic roads, but it is also
Also a
Towns
town,
and General Bylaws, Chapter 106, and Planning Board Rules and Regulations.
But how does
Article.
that work? Can the town override a mass general law?
We can be more stringent.
We can be more stringent,
Yes.
right? but they're asking us to override it. They're asking us,
Well, I think there are guidelines that the planning board has to follow
right,
in the state statute and
that's
regulations
what
for
I'm
how
trying
they
to-
interpret it.
what I'm trying to say. So I leave it up to, they know what the mass general law is and leaving
The
it up to
planning board,
them.
yeah, I'm,
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm with you. That's how I would word it too. It's that
Right.
we trust the planning board to make
Whatever
the
the
right
planning board
decision.
says, that's what we should go by. That's their department.
So did you want to put a comment, or do you want to put no comment, or do you want to say we trust the planning board to make the right decision?
Leave it to the planning board to make the correct decision.
And can I add, we thank you for your work.
Appreciate all your efforts.
Thirteen?
Okay.
The next one is referral notice for 168 Lunenburg Road. I am not familiar with this one. Do you know what this one's for, Eric?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
This is a renewal of an accessory apartment special permit. This is to hear renewal of a special permit for an accessory apartment at 168 Lunenburg Road. So as it stands, and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, the accessory apartments are 3 years or 5 years? 5 years. So this had a 5-year special permit and they're just renewing the 5-year permit. So what say you?
Is that your zoning or planning?
This is zoning.
Okay, same thing. I leave it to zoning, but I see no problem.
Okay.
With just approving it.
So we'll say the same thing there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll write that afterwards. That's okay with you, Sabrina?
We'll forgive you.
Okay, 4.8, I'll entertain a motion to approve an increase in recreation revolving fund limit to 100,000. We'll do this and then we'll have a discussion on it.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded in discussion. This is something we talked about before too.
Yeah, so this is a circumstance where the limits for the revolving funds have not kept up with the increased revenue and expenses of the recreation department. So coming next year, we're going to reevaluate those revolving fund limits. But in the interim, in order to be able to spend more than the revolving fund currently allows them to spend, we need to vote, and then it needs to go to the FinCom, and they also need to vote to approve the increase of the revolving fund limit. To be clear, these are funds that the Recreation Department is taking in and then expending. So they're not coming from the general fund, they're not deficit spending, they're just taking in money through their programs that are costing money and then spending out money in salaries to the counselors and, you know, any equipment that they need to purchase. So it's just we need to keep up with
The money they're bringing in, the amount of money they're bringing in
Yep.
has to justify what they're
What's
spending.
the current limit?
I think it's 60 or 70. Is it 70?
I think it's 70.
Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah. There's other departments that are like this too that
Yeah.
we need to review.
recycling is another one that's.
Yeah, exactly, because of the cost of living and
Does the minimum wage has gone up? Like, since the time these limits were set, the recreation department has gotten bigger, and their programs have gotten bigger, and the expenses have gotten larger, but so has their revenue, so,
Nothing we can do but approve it and move on.
yes.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay. 2 ayes, 1 no. You guys have it. 5.0 ARPA projects.
I don't think we have anything for this evening.
I don't have anything. Anybody have anything for ARPA projects? 5.1 town administrator updates and reports.
Sure. So there's a couple, if you saw in the SharePoint, there's a request from the Townsend Historical Society to waive the building permit fees, waive or reduce the building permit fees for the Harbor Church. So I wanted to, this is not an issue that's ever come up for me yet. So I wanted to speak to the board about how they preferred to do things like this for fee waivers. It's certainly something, if the board authorizes me, that I could take on as the town administrator and just kind of do it under my discretion, or we could bring those to the board and have the board make determinations on them on a case-by-case basis. I just wanted to kind of talk to the board about how they felt, and then what they thought about this one specifically.
are there any fees? Do we waive for anybody at this point?
So fees are not waived for anyone.
So this would be the first that has been asked.
This is the first time that I've had a fee waiver come into me, and I told the Historical
But have
Society
we
that we
waived them in the past for other churches or other organizations or anything that you know, Chad?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so
We
we're
have-
not
we have
starting down. a
discussed-
slope.
I can't remember if we've approved them, but I know it has been brought up before.
Different towns and municipalities and cities do it in different ways, right? Like some delegate the authority up to a certain amount. So for instance, I have the authority to sign contracts up to $5,000, and other contracts over $5,000 are supposed to come to the board. You could give me a limit, say, fee waivers of under $500, the town administrator could just do. Anything over that, you have to come to us, or we could have every fee waiver request come to the board, or you could have every fee waiver request handled by me. It's up to how the board would like to deal with this, whether or not this is something you guys want to take
Mary, you
up.
want to say
I
something?
think there's a waiver on the bandstand when we did that.
I think so too.
Well, I know that.
Yeah. And that,
Right, I knew that there was, but I couldn't remember how it went. There was a lot of background noise with that one.
my opinion is if it's, Historical Society, a town-owned building, I think we should be able to waive some of the fees. Why
It's not a town of a building,
Historical Society,
the society. owns it.
society.
Yeah. So
So that's just the something to think about is
do we know what the cost of the permits are in?
I don't know the cost of the permits.
Well, I have an opinion, if I can share it.
Can
It's in,
I do too.
yeah, do you want to go first? You can go first.
I can go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I definitely can see a reason to do it, but here's my concern. I just don't like anything that's arbitrary and capricious and not written down. Like, why are we doing it? For whom we do it? If we have set guidelines, when and where and how, then it makes me comfortable. But if it's just like, oh, we'll do it for the Historical Society, and then the Satan worshipers is a nonprofit group, and we don't do it for them,
Yeah,
So that's all I'm saying.
that's a good point.
Not that I know that we have Satan worshipers in Townsend, but
I'm kind of passing
But we
that one
probably
right
do.
by.
Yeah.
Won't even address that one.
Yeah. What, you have anything, any thoughts on it?
Well, I express my opinion. I think if we can help on some things in certain buildings, Historical Society, they're not a rich organization, but they are town
buildings in town, not owned by the town, but the Historical Society, which I think as a town, part of the Historical Society, we should make sure we do what we can to keep them updated, and if we need to cut them a little slack, I mean, I think that's what we need. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, I share in your thought that there definitely needs to be some sort of delineation on how we do it. However, I do see that the way it is right now, it is coming before the board and we're making a decision on it. So we're doing it as a case-by-case basis. So we can have an intelligent discussion on whether or not for the individual. But I would be comfortable to say that maybe down the road, we do look at some sort of guidelines to waive fees going forward.
I'd like it to see it. I have no problem with approving this for tonight, but I'd like to see it as part of that subcommittee policy, whatever, maybe part of their fees waived or something, somehow later on down the line.
These are the
The
criteria involved
criteria,
in waiving
whatever.
fees.
So I just want to kind of throw it out for folks to appreciate, which is there is a cost to the town for permitting.
Mhm.
You know, every time we send an inspector out to a building,
Administration fees.
Yeah.
there's the overhead, you know, that, so waiving fees is in effect taking on those costs, and the taxpayers are paying those costs as opposed to the entities. So I'm not suggesting that should sway in one way or the other, but it's important to note that the permitting is not a free service. You know, there is cost that the town encumbers for having to do inspections.
I don't think we waived the fee completely. I feel just give them some sort of a discount. But waiving completely, I don't think is the proper thing to do, because Teresa said, well, what about the next guy?
Yeah.
Case by case.
Well, we don't necessarily have a building commissioner right now, but would we be able to come up with a compromise, you know, as to what?
I mean, you could cut the fees in half. Whatever the fees are, we could cut. You give them a 50% discount. You can give them, you know, I mean, I think the board could definitely come
I
up
would
with
be comfortable with a 50% discount.
I think so.
What do you think, Teresa?
Fine with that.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a 50% discount on the fees for the Historic District Church project with the Townsend Historical Society.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I realize that we are limited by time, so I'm going to try to be very brief. In the SharePoint, there was a memo from Jim Smith, the highway superintendent, regarding both an amendment and a clarification of the plow truck rates. So currently, the rates were a pickup truck, $82.98, 1 ton, $85.28, loader, $132.78. So Jim wants to be a little bit more specific about what we're paying for. So he says pickup truck with an 8-foot plow. So we know that we're getting an 8-foot plow would be the pickup truck rate. The 1 ton is a 9-foot plow. And then he would like to add a truck weighing 26,001 pounds or greater, which is the CDL limit. So it's a commercial driver's license requirement, with an 11-foot plow and a wing plow and a sander at the loader rate. The reason why Jim thinks that this would be appropriate would be we could hire one truck. It'd be able to plow twice as wide as either a pickup truck or a 1 ton. And so we could have routes that normally would take 2 trucks that he could just put 1 truck on. So it actually ended up saving the town $37.78 an hour if you had a 2-truck route with a pickup truck or a 1 ton, that you switch to a wing truck. And the reason why this is coming up is because he has a vendor that's willing to provide this service for this rate. And so I think it makes sense, because at the end of the day, you're saving the town money per hour to get the same equivalent of time done.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
Need a motion on that?
Yeah, I think we should need a motion to approve the amended snowplow rates, the plow truck rate amendments as listed in the memorandum.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Um,
Let's see.
we can skip the liaison reports.
We
Oh, I
had
haven't
one
either.
other,
Except for Teresa.
we had one other thing that came under, town administrator reports that's not listed in the,
Okay.
which is, there's a memo in, the town administrator in the SharePoint about, NM Cares ARPA funds.
Mhm.
So the, Rebecca Morse, who's our community services coordinator, submitted a request that came from NM Cares to do an increase in their ARPA funds for FY '24 to cover some increased staffing and services. So they were, this would not require a reallocation because the ARPA funds that they're using is already in their line. This is just something that we wanted to present to the board to make sure that they're comfortable with the increasing their line for FY '24. We have explained to NM Cares, it's not going to increase the total amount of money that they're going to get. It means that there will be less money at the end of the contract,
Right.
but they want to use it to beef up their services now. I thought that was appropriate after discussions with both Rebecca and with NM Cares, and I just wanted to make sure that the board didn't have any concerns about doing the allocation. But again, I don't believe it requires a vote. Anyone have, is everyone okay with that?
Teresa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would be it. Thank you.
Teresa, go ahead with the liaison.
So first of all, I wanted to thank you, Jess, for filling in with me. I had asked, a few months ago if you could help out lawyers having some medical procedures take over from liaison. I had my last procedure, last week. And you're more than welcome to continue. But, finance especially is back in the evening. I have no more procedures scheduled,
I'll be
so
more than glad to.
if you want to, give me back my duties, I'm more than willing to take
Okay.
them back.
And I'll give you back yours also. Conservation.
Right, and thank you both for filling in for me while I was unable to.
So why don't
Complete
we
my
do
task.
this? Why don't I'll resubmit what we had originally to
Okay.
Eric, and then he can distribute it to you guys, and then we'll discuss it in our next meeting.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. More than you know. I flew to get to the finance committee today, so. Announcements and communications, I don't think we really have any, do we?
I
You were
just
gonna
had
make the
one-
thing about Mr. Boucher.
Oh, that's right. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, first of all, W. Boucher passed away, and I think everybody knows he's been a longtime servant of the town of Townsend, I think since 1963, so approximately 60 years. I think, my opinion, I'm going to go, but I think it would be a really respectful thing that the Board of Selectmen show up at them calling hours on Saturday morning, you know, and I would love to see us as a group go together and present it. I think it would make his family members, I mean, since 1963, he started at the highway department, and he's done everything ever since to the day he died. So that's only my gig, and I think it'd be really appreciative, and we can plan to meet right out front at 10 on Saturday morning.
Okay, I'll be there.
You good with that, Teresa?
I have to look, I'm not sure. Let me,
Okay.
second, I will before the meeting, I'll let you know before the meeting goes over.
Quarter
I
to 10
swear I got
Saturday.
something
Okay.
Saturday. I have one quick announcement.
Yep, sure.
Two things, actually, but they're all fall into the things. I'd really like to thank North Middlesex for the event they do for their veterans. As always, they do a beautiful job. Everybody that is involved with it, I want to thank, but the band playing, it almost brings tears to my eyes. They do such a great job playing all the songs. And this year, they played I guess the Space Force finally has a theme song now, so I got to hear the Space Force theme song this year. And also, we had about 50 or so people show up down at the 11:11 at 11 o'clock. We were all there at the memorial across from the VFW. It was a good show. Thing there, I was able to say, I said on behalf of the selectmen, I said a few words. So for those people who showed up for that, thanks as well. So
The band's really good. They have a,
and the student government, he said things about the thing. They did a wonderful job. So.
I agree. I agree. So let's see, the legal notice for 168 Lunenburg Road. We did talk about that. Next meeting, Tuesday, November 28th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And 5.5, I'll entertain a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Entertain a motion to dismiss, to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn at, I can't see the time.
6:48.
49.
At 6:49. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.